With so many smartphones flooding the market, it's really tough to say what's the best phone. I mean, if you ask me what the best phone is, I'll give you an answer. Or if you ask me what's the best phone for so-and-so, it's a completely different answer. Depending on your budget, depending on your needs, there are always different phones. Questions that may go through your mind like, will this phone get updates? How good is the camera? And what about the speaker? How good is the speaker? That's something you really can't look at on a spec sheet. So this video right here is going to be the best phone for any budget. We're going to break down phones from 50 bucks all the way up to $900. If you're ready like I'm ready, hang on to your butts, boys and girls. We're about to, I don't know, make a video. So for under $100, there's actually a couple of options, but the option I'm going to pick is actually the cheapest one. This phone is only $50, and this is the blue R1 HD. And the reason it's so cheap is because it has ads on the lock screen. Now the full version without the ads is $100, but if you opt to have the ads on your lock screen, you're gonna pay 50 bucks. This device has 1 GB of RAM and also has 8 GB worth of storage on board. Now, if you spend 10 bucks, you can actually double that. So you have 2 GB and also 16 GB of onboard storage, which I recommend doing for 10 bucks. So that brings your grand total up to a whopping $60. Now this phone is actually very simple, but it's solid. I mean, it has a 5-inch display, which is Gorilla Glass 3, 1.3 quad-core MediaTek 670-35, and it does support 4G LTE in America, so AT&T, T-Mobile, you're good to go. So you're not gonna be doing some major gaming on it, but you can play some puzzle type games without an issue at all. And like I said, spend the $10, you're up to $60, and you have yourself a really solid phone. Moving up to $200, there isn't much competition for the Moto G4. It has a super sleek design, and it has a 5.5-inch IPS LCD display and is protected by Gorilla Glass 3. You also get a speedy Snapdragon 617 processor, Adreno 405, and is running nearly stock Android, and you're rocking Android 6.0, which is one of the latest versions of Android you can get right now. It has 2 GB of RAM and also has an SD card slot, so you can actually increase the onboard memory up to 256 GB. It does have a single speaker, but that single speaker is front facing, so you do have audio coming towards you, which makes it for a pretty decent multimedia device. If camera's a real big deal, then you won't be too impressed. It does have 13 megapixels as a primary and 5 as a selfie camera, and they do okay imagery and decent lighting, but once you get to lower lights, you're gonna see a ton of noise. Also, you do have a 3000 milliamp battery, which is solid for this device. You get yourself a day and a half of moderate usage. Heavy users, you'll be grabbing your charger at night as you go to bed, but beyond that, very solid phone, and it's actually one of the better phones out there, even at that price point. The Honor 5X is a close second here, but it does have a slightly dated processor. Otherwise, the specifications are pretty much identical. The performance and everything like that is pretty much the same. The difference is you're gonna have yourself a fingerprint scanner on the back, and also you're gonna have a metal design, which is a little more premium. But you can also find this phone for about $150 on certain sales. That's actually the phone that my wife uses right now. It's actually the Honor 5X, and I do have a video talking about it, which is up here and also down below. Now for the under $300 price range, there isn't really much in this category, but the best thing out there is the Oneplus X. This is the first phone on the list to feature a 5-inch AMOLED 1080p display and is protected by Gorilla Glass 3. Now the screen does pop, it looks really good. It also has the dated Snapdragon 801 chipset, but it does have the slow Adreno 330 GPU. It does have 3 GB of RAM, which is enough for multitasking, and performance should be a breeze. It is running Android 5.1, which is a little bit older, and it is draped in Oxygen OS, which to me, Oxygen OS is actually one of the better skins out there. It actually makes Android a lot better in my opinion, so that's not a bad thing, but the version number of Android is something that does concern me, that I'm not sure what updates it's going to receive. We also start seeing a better camera. It does have 13 megapixels on the back, and then you have 8 megapixels on the front, and the camera samples are really good. But the negative thing about this phone is that the 5-inch display is a tad bit small for most people, especially if you're trying to consume multimedia, and the speakers aren't really good at all, and also it doesn't have a fingerprint scanner. A lot of things like mobile banking and even making payments relies on this fingerprint scanner. This does not have one. And also the battery is 2,525 milliamp, which is not solid at all, and you won't get a full day. You'll be reaching for your charger throughout the day. When I had the phone, I was reaching my charger around 6 o'clock, which to me isn't adequate at all. All right, let's go into the big boy territory. Let's say you got $400. What you gonna get? Well, I'm gonna get the Oneplus 3. This phone packs some amazing specs. You have a 1080p 5.5-inch AMOLED display, and it has a Snapdragon 820 processor and a ridiculous amount of RAM, which has 6 gigabytes. Performance is really good. You have Oxygen OS and multitasking, obviously with 6 gigabytes of RAM. You're gonna have great performance. And also it does have a 16 megapixel camera. Takes really good photos, but the quality does drop down quickly in low light. The front megapixel camera is great for selfies, but there is no SD support, but thankfully the phone is 64 gigabytes. So you may not need an SD card, but if you are a heavy media user, you need that local storage, you may need to look elsewhere. And elsewhere could be the Honor 8. Now the Honor 8 actually is the phone that's currently in my hand right now. I haven't done my full review yet, but I've been using it for a couple weeks. It is great, has all day battery life, using the Kirin processor, which is Huawei's processor, but it is very solid. It has a dual camera system. It takes one picture in color, one in monotone, and then it combines the two together to get you a much sharper image. Has a dual tone flash, has a laser autofocus. This camera is amazing. Fingerprint scanner on the back, which is very fast. You get into your phone as soon as you tap it on the back. I mean, it's like magic. Also, this is a button too, so you can do things like if I double tap it, it goes to my camera, or if I hold it down, it brings up the flashlight. So this camera, this phone is actually really good. Battery life is a lot better than the Oneplus 3 as well. So you do have options in this price point depending on what you're looking for. Oneplus 3 feels much more premium in the hand. It feels like a better phone. It does have a bigger screen. This is a smaller screen at 5.2, I believe. It does feel good. It has that glass feeling that you get with the S7 and Note 7 as well. So really up to you. It's really a toss-up, but just depends on the person. Now, if you do want to go a little bit lower, then you can go for $350. You can get the Idol 4S. Has toned down specifications, but it does have a 2K screen, and it also does have the dual front-facing speakers, which makes audio consumption really nice on the device. I did a full review and a versus video, which is linked down below and up top in the cards. Now, what you're going to realize is when we start moving up in price range, initially we had this bump as far as quality to performance, but now you're going to see it sort of taper off, because when you spend $500 on a phone, then you spend $900 on a phone, the differences become so small. It becomes personal preference, and that's a lot of money you're spending for a personal preference. Just some food for thought. Now, under $500, what I recommend getting is a Nexus 6P. This is the best phone. You'll get a 5.7-inch 2K AMOLED display, Gorilla Glass 4, and the latest version of stock Android. It uses Snapdragon 810, which is an older chip now, and it has the Adreno 430 GPU. But that doesn't mean performance is bad. This thing performs better than any phone that I have, mainly because it's stock Android. And there's a lot of value to add running stock version of Android. You get the latest updates, security issues happen, you'll be the first one getting updates to fix it, and that's worth a lot of money in my opinion. It also does have a pretty solid camera, albeit it's a bit slower. Fingerprint scanner is really nice. The body is aluminum, it feels great. I mean, the Nexus 6P is the phone that I keep with me at all times. If I go out of town and have to bring one phone, Nexus 6P is that phone. With not that many options in this price range, the Nexus 6P is pretty much the under $500 phone to get is a Nexus 6P. And obviously you do have your Honor 8 as well, which can be found for $400 or $449, depending on what you want with the phone. So a couple options here, Nexus 6P, you're welcome. And finally, we're gonna end the list off with the big boys. We're talking about the phones that money isn't a big deal to you. You're balling, you're Danny Winjet, you're Armando Ferreira, you're Andrew Edwards, and you wanna get the best phone for your buck. And there's a lot of advantages for these phones, mainly accessory. You can get tons of cases, tons of accessories. All those things are really amazing with these type of phones because people buy them. They're really nice phones. And also, you can get a D brand skin. And what D brand is, it's a company that actually makes these custom vinyls that you put on your phone. And when you put them on your phone, it actually changes the way your phone looks, adds a little bit of grip, and it also can protect it a little bit too from scuffs and other types of dings and marks. Hit the links down below to D brand your device. And that's another good reason about getting a more expensive phone. More accessories, more support, and all that stuff. So let's dig into it. So obviously guys, you guys know what I'm gonna say. We have Samsung and we have Apple. You can grab yourself a Galaxy S7 Edge, you can grab yourself a Galaxy Note 7. S7 Edge, as of this video, is pretty cheap because the Note 7 came out. Both of these phones are really similar. You have your 2K screen, you have your very strong 16 megapixel camera. You have your front facing camera, which is really good. I mean Samsung makes the best cameras to be found. It does run TouchWiz, which is not a stock version of Android, and they're not really known for timely updates, but Samsung is getting much better. You're gonna get the best experience on Android, period, when you get a Samsung phone as far as performance and as far as features, period. But once again, you're spending a lot more money for this experience and you're spending a lot of money for the name, but you do have a really nice phone, don't get me wrong. And also, Apple. Obviously, the iPhone's gonna be on this list. The 6S and the 6S Plus are both phenomenal phones, really good phones. I know I'm an Android user, but I do respect the iPhone. You can pick it up for a lot cheaper now because the new one will be coming out. So when I do the fall edition of this video, I'm gonna obviously have the newer ones on the list, but you do have the choice of getting the 6S, 6S Plus, very solid phones. They're not really spec heavy, but the experience is top notch. Wow. A lot of phones, guys, but this is kind of a buyer's guide. If you're looking for a phone in the fall, this type of video is something you can use to figure out what's out there and what you should be looking at. Guys, hit the like button, share this video with a family member who may be looking for a phone or who maybe want to look for a phone for you. Also, if you think a phone should have been on the list, leave a comment down below and let me know what phone should have been on the list. As always, guys, I'm Kevin the Tech Ninja. Have yourself a great day. I'll holler at you folks later.